your host, Chris Ryle. Clearwater Abbey is the home of Walter Tucker's Church of the Universe mission. It is located northwest of Hamilton in Push-Lynch County. It is here that Walter Tucker tries to create a space for individuals to enjoy and relax from the troubles of the world today. Clearwater Abbey is situated on 350 acres of pollution-free and beautiful land. An added attraction at Clearwater is a clean freshwater quarry. Here, members of the church can enjoy a truly invigorating swim. Recently, I interviewed Walter Tucker on the Church of the Universe and Clearwater Abbey. Here is his story. Could you tell me how the church got started?
Yes. About 7 or 8 years ago, a man named Theo Leatherman came to visit me, and his method of visiting was rather unusual in that he started preaching in the middle of the quarry. And it upset the members back there, and if it upset them, it upset me, so we threw him out. And Theo came back that night and had a talk with me, and because of that talk, I became a Christian, and along with some other people who felt the same way as I did, we formed the Church of the Universe and contacted another church in the United States called Universal Life Church and affiliated with them and started working towards creating spaces that were spiritually viable for us.
How does your church operate?
Well, all members are allowed to become ministers if they want to go through the process. And first of all, to become a member of the Church of the Universe, you would have to believe that you are equally responsible with all of God's creatures for the preservation of our earth.
What are the reasons behind the use of marijuana as a sacrament?
I think probably that from my own personal experience, I would say that when I wanted to calm my world, when I say my world, I mean the immediate habitation of my soul, that I find that marijuana has a calming influence, and when I want to direct my thoughts internally, it has the ability to allow me to direct my thoughts where I want to without interference from negative forces.
What is the purpose of nudity in your service?
Well, it isn't necessarily in our service, but what we believe is that the two golden rules, that don't hurt yourself and don't hurt your other human beings, don't create any negative aspects to the fact that you were born nude. You were born naked when you came into this world. And the idea of taking your clothes off is to show that you are not guilty before God. You are willing to stand before God exactly as He created you, without shame. And so nudity has the two aspects. One, the health aspect of being in God's creation with the golden sun shining down upon you, and the other, that you understand when you see yourself nude along with other human beings that you are one of God's creatures. We're born nude into this earth and will take absolutely nothing with you when you leave.
Have you had any confrontations with the police or members of the community over being nude on the grounds?
As I have informed you, I am arresting you for obstructing and resisting a peace officer in execution of his duties. It is my duty to inform you that you have the right to retain and instruct counsel without delay. Do you understand this?
Why do you think this took place?
Mr. Tucker, do you understand this?
Yes, I am.
You understand that? Thank you. Please come this way.
Okay,
Would you like to get
Lock the door, Joanne. Lock the door.
Please. Fill a blanket, please.
You're breaching my constitutional rights. You know that, don't you? Are you in charge?
No,
Are you in charge?
No,
Who's
sir,
in charge? Who's the coward in charge here? Who's the coward in charge, huh? Who is the coward? The police officer, the officer in charge. Who's the coward? Who's in charge? Are you afraid to identify yourself?
Reverend Tucker, would you ask your wife to open the door?
No, I won't ask her to open the door. You're breaking into her home. Have you got her name on that piece of paper?
Come this way, please, Mr. Tucker.
You guys are violating my constitutional rights. False arresting me, falsely imprisoning me. Come on.
Goals of the Church of the Universe.
To have the whole world be a space where you can create your own lifestyle and your own spirituality within the same rules that we're talking about on each one of our missions. Don't hurt yourself and don't hurt anyone else. We'd like to see the whole world love one another and share with one another in the good things that they have.
The goals of the Church of the Universe are stated simply by Walter Tucker, yet are difficult to achieve for some people. The Church hopes to help people bring about a new awareness of themselves and where their life is going. The members of the Church of the Universe sail on to a more fulfilling and enriching life. Don't miss out on it.
Today, Clearwater Abbey is a forbidden spot. Several years ago, it was purchased by Hamilton Region Conservation Authority, a publicly funded body. But the public is barred from the property. The Conservation Authority is still trying to decide what to do with the property, but it has very little money to work with. When Walter Tucker and the Church of the Universe lived there, it was like a time tunnel to the 60s. People swam naked in the gorgeous quarry and they smoked the tree of life openly. Clearwater Abbey was visited by hundreds of people every year without incident. It was a retreat, just like the retreats owned by mainstream churches. Walter Tucker happened across the land in the late 1960s. It was abandoned and used by motorcycle gangs as a party place. Back then, Walter Tucker was part of society's mainstream. He was married with 4 children, and he earned a living as district sales manager for a women's hair products company. But when he discovered Clearwater, all that began to change. He struck up a friendship with the owner, who invited him to move onto the property, build a home, and look after the land. The new lifestyle proved too much for his wife, who left with the children. It was at Clearwater Abbey that Walter Tucker, by then Brother Walter, founder of the Church of the Universe, later met his second wife, Sister Joanne. The land's original owner is now dead, but Brother Walter says he promised that he could live there for 50 years. But because that promise was never put in writing, the court said Brother Walter was a squatter, and they allowed the property's new owner, Steatley Industries, to evict him. Today, the home he built with his own hands has been bulldozed, and the land is used by no one. Brother Walter refuses to give up hope that someday he will return to the place that so richly deserves the name Clearwater.
It's January 1993. Can you give me a quick rundown of how many cases you're facing and have launched? What's your legal dance card these days?
We have 18 appeals combined into one appeal, or 2 appeals in front of the Supreme Court of Canada. I would say we have another between 7 and 9 appeals and or cases that are happening in the lower courts below the Supreme Court of Canada level at one point or another, and we are suing the Supreme Court of Canada and 3 Supreme Court of Ontario judges for abuses that we have suffered at their hands. The Supreme Court of Canada, we are saying that they no longer have the right, that no one in the government has the right to discretionary powers, that everyone has a right to equality before the law and protection of the law, according to Section 15 of the Charter. Now, a lot of judges have felt that they had discretion up until now. We're saying to the Supreme Court of Canada, they have to hear all cases that are brought before them, not just the ones they choose to hear, and that they are neglecting their duty by choosing one case and refusing another because they are all valid if they get that far. That's one thing we're doing. And the other thing we're doing is we're taking the Supreme Court of Canada into the Federal Court of Canada and saying that they are violating the law when they do pick and choose between the case they will hear and the case they won't hear.
Today, Brother Walter, Sister Joanne, and Brother Michael are going to the Supreme Court of Canada. They are seeking the right to use videotape to record all their court proceedings. Videotape is allowed in almost every American state, but not in Canada. The church will argue that videotape is faster, more accurate, cheaper, and more user-friendly than traditional methods of written transcription. They have the support of Hamilton television station CHCH, and they claim to speak on behalf of people who cannot read. And they insist justice must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. Brother Walter Tucker has been to the Supreme Court several times on other matters. He is not intimidated by the grandeur of the place. Although he has no legal training himself, he comes from a family with a huge legal background. His father was Walter Adam Tucker, who was a teacher, soldier, lawyer, leader of the Saskatchewan Liberal Party, federal Liberal member of Parliament, High Court Justice in Saskatchewan, and the father of 9. 4 of Judge Tucker's offspring are lawyers or judges. And then there's Walter and William, the black sheep of the family. William was active at the Clearwater scene for many years, but he left Canada in the early 1980s to run a church mission in Arkansas, home state of notorious pot fiend Bill Clinton. On this day in court, they would get no satisfaction. First, they could not take their video cameras into the judge's chambers, and then the judge refused to grant them permission to use video in any other court. The Supreme Court was allegedly studying the issue, but 2 years later, nothing has changed. After his day in court, Brother Walter was furious. Furious with the ruling and furious with the system.
In a way that is fundamentally unjust, found to be fundamentally unjust by these same people, the Supreme Court of Canada. And then the Supreme Court of Canada saying, but we'll allow that law to stand for another year. That means thousands and thousands of young people, or even people of all ages, are being processed in a court that has been admitted to be fundamentally unjust. Now, how can that happen in this beautiful country of ours? How can these people break the law and then decide that they're going to choose whether I'm not guilty or guilty, and they're guilty and admit that they're guilty of breaking the law? I'm going to choose them for my judges. I'm going to accept them quietly for my judges. There's no way. There's no way, brother. I want a level playing field. I want the right to go in there and argue at the same level as the Crown Prosecutor does. And I want him to do his job by not just putting in a biased case against me. I want him to put in a fair case against me, the way he's supposed to do. He's not an advocate. He's a person who is supposed to put both sides of the case in.
One of your points is that because the Supreme Court, as a body, is reconsidering its video position, all your other cases should be stayed.
Of course.
Because, and can you explain the reason behind that?
Well, say that we are given a right to videotape, and we've already had all the cases. They've already tried all the cases. Well, then, what's the use of giving us the right to videotape? We want the right to videotape at the start, so that the process that we are following can be recorded. And so we can use every step along the way. We can use the process that we've recorded to help us to fight the situation that we are in, because it's unjust. And unless we're given the opportunity to fight an unjust situation, it keeps on occurring to all kinds of other Canadians.
Briefly, can you give me the reasons why videotape is a superior method, in your view?
A picture is worth 1,000 words. I don't think I can say more than that.